Today, I want to cover 8 of the most common reasons why real estate agents have a fear when it comes to cold calling. So these are the most common reasons that I've seen out there. Managing over 200 agents, we've created the fastest growing real estate office in the entire state of Tennessee, added 200 agents in 2 years. And you best believe we've seen a lot of different stories, and we ourselves are faced every single day with, I'll never join, I'm not interested. But how do we get through that and push forward and continue to have success? So that's what we want to help you with today, is how to overcome this fear of cold calling. So number 1, a common reason that I see is why people aren't making their calls is a fear of rejection. When we reach out to people and we're making that initial call, we're in a vulnerable state. We're reaching out, trying to see if we can help them. And when that doesn't happen or it doesn't work out the way we want, we feel rejected. We take it personally. And so we have to change that framework and realize this person that we just cold called didn't know us 5 minutes ago. So when they say no, it's not personal. It's truly just in this moment, in this situation, they're not interested. Think about when you go to a furniture store. And a lot of times when you walk in, they say, is there anything that can help you find? And automatically, it's like a knee-jerk reaction. We say, no, I'm just looking. How many times have you said that walking into a store? So same thing with cold calling. Yes, there's going to be a fear of rejection. The very first time you do it, it's going to be nerve-wracking. You might even be shaking like I was when I first started door knocking. But we have to reframe that and realize it's not personal. The second most common thing that I see as to why we aren't making our calls, doing our door knocks, is a lack of confidence. Now, confidence can be built in a variety of different ways, but we have to remember too, and I love sports analogies, but a lack of confidence. Let's say we've never picked up a basketball a day in our life and we go to shoot a three-pointer. Are we going to make it? Probably not. But what if we shoot 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times? We're more likely to make that shot. So lack of confidence just truly comes from entry level. We haven't begun to practice our skill set, work on scripts. So we have to instead work on that. By practice makes improvement. That's the third reason, is we're not practicing enough. So when we continuously can put in the effort, I recommend 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes of at least training every single day, and 30 minutes of actually practicing. So 30 minutes of training, learning new skill sets, 30 minutes of implementing and practicing. Just like with sports, you have practices. So we have to practice as a real estate agent professional. 4 is a fear of failure. We put so much on our shoulders, and we know our own personal stories, whether that's bills that are coming up, whether that's family pressures. And so if we don't reach the desired outcome, we have a fear of failure. You know what? I actually tried and I failed. And that was me when I first started in real estate. We moved to Florida. We had no friends down there, no family to start. It was a brand new area. And I knew if I failed, that means the wife and I would have to move back to Tennessee. And that means that I failed, and everybody would know that. So I had to do whatever it took to succeed. So a lot of times we have to use that failure or that fear of failure as motivation versus something to hold us back and become an obstacle to prevent us from actually doing the task that we know will move the needle in our business. The next thing is script and prepare. So this goes into a little bit of practice makes perfect, but if you don't, work on creating a script. A script can be a framework, and I know some people hate scripts, but use it more instead, if you hate scripts, as a template. Know the flow of the conversation. How are you going to move this prospect along from point A, the initial conversation, they pick up the phone, to point B? Is that I want a contact information for them, email address? Is it I want to set an appointment? Is it I'm trying to close them on the phone? So have that framework, and that's what that script is. It's creating that template to move somebody along. And if you haven't already watched different sales trainings, such as Way of the Wolf with Jordan Belfort, it talks about having that script can keep everything in line versus, have you ever gotten off on a 10-minute conversation with a prospect about their kids and what they're doing over this weekend and shows they were just watching? You kind of end off in Pluto. So having that script builds that template from you to move from point A to point B. Next is 6, setting realistic goals. So again, just like some of the other previous points, a lot of times we don't make those calls because we don't have a goal in mind, or our goal is to get the sale. Instead, the goal needs to be the action itself. So instead of saying, I want to make a call, and if I make the call and I don't get a sale, that's a failure. No, instead, count that as a win. I made the call. So my goal for the day needs to be, I need to make 20 calls a day or 50 calls a day. For me, I was door knocking 100 doors a day. So it didn't matter what happened throughout that. It didn't matter if all 100 doors told me no. It was the action itself that made each day a win, and that mentally can supercharge you and your actions in your real estate business. So set the goal based on the action itself and not the outcome. The outcome will come later as a result of consistent action. Number 7 that I've seen as one of the most common reasons why real estate agents are not making cold calls is a lack of conviction and or motivation. So what I mean by that is if we're just going through the motions and we have no urgency, no oomph in our calls, if we're just going through the motions, we're probably not going to connect with a lot of people. And if, same thing, if we don't have any motivation to do it, or maybe we have a main source of income, or maybe our spouse makes all this money, or maybe this is just in retirement for fun. So there could be different levels of motivation, and depending on that could lead to why you're not actually picking up the phone and making the calls. Maybe you're not uncomfortable enough. Maybe you aren't using that fear as motivation. So dialing those in to work on your conviction level and your motivation level can help increase it. Or I was talking with our compliance officer and he had a really good point, is when motivation is the wrong thing. So such as money, I'm motivated by money. If somebody says that, the problem with that type of motivation is, one, you can get burnt out with money. Just like me, I went to pre-med school in college because I just wanted to get the highest paying job and I burnt out on that. Or with money, you're leading with the wrong intentions when you're having conversations with people. And so that's not going to work, and that's going to prevent you from making calls because you have the wrong intention. Last thing of preventing agents from making cold calls, number 8, is honestly just not being the right fit for that agent. There's so many different alternatives. You actually don't even have to cold call. I entirely built my initial business on just door knocking. I love the face-to-face interaction. So you don't have to cold call. You don't have to door knock. Maybe you can use social media. Maybe you can create content on YouTube. Maybe you can connect with HR departments. Maybe you can connect with local vendors. So there's all these different avenues. And truly at the end of the day, if you keep trying over and over with cold calling and it's just not your cup of tea, then try something else. That's perfectly fine. But when you can analyze these 8 different obstacles that agents have when they're trying to cold call, and you can find which one is yours and use that to your advantage, shift your perspective, go for the no. So if you know, hey, out of 100 calls that I make, 99 people are going to say no, and I just need that one yes. Well, then look forward to the no's. Hey, this person just said no. This person just said get lost. This person had a dog barking when I answered the door, and it was awful. Use those no's as excitement. I'm getting closer and closer to that yes. And when you can analyze these different things, you will take your real estate business to the next level.